Hello, how you doing? It's Phil Thatch, and this evening I'm in downtown Chattanooga. Usually I do sunrise type photography. I like to work early in the morning instead of in the evening, but we didn't get home from the Tennessee versus Florida football game until about 2 o'clock this morning, so I was just too tired to get to work this morning, so I've decided to work tonight. And I'm getting out the old D850, which I haven't used in a while. This my new used D850 that I haven't used in a little bit, and I'm going to try to get some pictures of some of these buildings in Chattanooga with some nice light on them. So I'm going to get our first composition set up now. Okay, so my first shot is of a parking garage that I've made photographs of and from many times, but I've never made a photograph of it from over here across Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And from here you get the beautiful red bricks and the West Village sign at the top of it, and the circular parking lot exit on the left, and some of the parking lot itself on the right. There's a tattered David Hobbs banner hanging from the top of it, which I wish wasn't there. And I have to wait until the traffic in front of me, because I'm right at an intersection of Martin Luther King and Carter Street, so I have to wait until that traffic clears before I can make the shot. But there's great light on the parking garage, and I'm shooting vertically. I've got the 16 to 35 f-mount Nikon lens on. I'm at somewhere between 16 and 20 millimeters, maybe 18, maybe 19. And I'm shooting at f8, which this lens is nice and sharp at f8. 1/80th of a second here on the tripod using a 2-second timer and ISO 64. Okay, so here is that first image, and this is really the image that I went downtown to make. I wanted to take this shot right here. I used Google Street View and kind of looked around in downtown Chattanooga, and I said, hey, I've never looked at this parking garage from this angle before. I think I'll take that shot. And then when I went downtown, I found the composition with these two trees. I believe these are willow oaks, kind of hanging around and framing the parking garage. And I said, man, that is cool. So all the rest of the shots from the night are gravy. This is really what I went downtown for. And let me show you how I had the composition framed up. You can see I have the camera vertical, and I've got my subject kind of up high. What I did was I just set the camera up to where the camera was perfectly level, and that put the subject up here kind of in the top half of the frame, because all this down here is cropped out. And that leaves me with straight lines without having to tilt the camera up. If you tilt the camera up, then your lines won't be straight, and you can correct that using this tool right here, but I never liked the look of it when it's corrected with this, at least when I'm doing building that I've had to shoot with the camera not level. I don't like the way it looks with these, although I'm sure other people have more success with it than me. But that's how I made this shot. Got my next shot lined up, and I've only moved about 25 feet down the sidewalk, and this time I'm focused on the Reed House, which is there behind me, and as you can see, it has great sun angle on it. And I'm shooting vertical again so I can keep my lines straight. I'm at about 22 millimeters, f8, ISO 64, and 1/100th of a second. And I made a couple of shots also with traffic going by with neutral density filters on to try to blur the traffic. Now this is the Reed House. This is right across the street. If you look at this road right here, just to the left of this is the parking garage that I just photographed, and this is the Reed House. And I kind of wanted to get the Reed House and the parking garage in the same shot, but you just couldn't do it. Even making a pano, there wasn't a spot where you could get both in the shot. But here's the Reed House, and I did the same technique on this, except for this time the Reed House is even higher in the frame. When I had my camera level, that caused the Reed House to be even higher in the frame than the parking garage was. And because of that, it kind of has, even though the lines are straight, the building kind of looks funny. And this is kind of the look that I get sometimes when I use the transform tool to correct lines that aren't straight. So it looks like I need to avoid doing a shot like this with the building that I'm working on all the way at the top of the frame. Now, I've done it with the camera horizontal with the building all the way to the top of the frame with some success, but doing it in a vertical shot all the way to the top of the frame ends up looking kind of funny, and that's just distortion at the edge of that ultra-wide lens, because this shot is 22 millimeters, which is still not 16 millimeters, but it's pretty wide. This last one was 18 millimeters, a wider shot, but the building is not up as high in the picture. The distortion is happening more here towards the edge of the frame. At least that's why I think it's weird looking in this one and not weird looking in this one. I've got another subject. It's the Marriott Chattanooga Trade and Convention Center. It's 16 stories tall, which is not tall for most cities, but for Chattanooga, that's pretty tall. And once again, I'm using the 16-35 and the D850, shooting at f8. ISO 64 and 1/80th of a second, I think. Yeah. So there's the setup. Shooting vertical, so the lines will be straight, and I can crop the bottom of the shot off. So now here's the shot of the Marriott, and this is 16 millimeters on this 16-story tall building, and it is got this crazy look to it as well. It's almost cartoonish the way it looks. So once again, I need to not put the building way in the very top portion of the frame if I'm shooting vertical with an ultra wide lens, because it makes it look funny. But what I was actually going for were straight lines, and I wanted to get these buildings as the sun was going down with beautiful light on them. So that part of the shot I did accomplish with this picture of the Marriott and this picture of the Reed House and this picture of the parking garage. That was kind of my goal for the photography. Now, if you've ever been to a sporting event or a concert in Chattanooga, this is something that you have seen, but you haven't seen. This is the world famous Ray Soldano. World famous. And his camera is on a tripod. This guy's the king of handheld. And look at this fabulous Z9 on a tripod right here in downtown Chattanooga.
As he's messing up my photo.
Oh, and you're shooting? Sorry. So here's a picture that I was working on of this building right here, but I didn't like this shadow on it. The sun had gone down to a point where the building behind Ray, and Ray made this photograph of me with my tripod. So I didn't share this picture because I didn't like the shadow on the building. It didn't have the bright light on the building that I was going for, but I did like this photo that Ray made of me with his Nikon Z9 and the 24-70 f2.8 lens, the S line lens. This is at 24 millimeters, 1/3 of a second in f8 that Ray made, and I appreciate him making this shot and letting me use it in the video. It's getting closer to dark now, and we've come down to the intersection, the very noisy intersection of 8th Street and Market Street, one of my favorite intersections to do photography in all of Chattanooga. I just walked right through Ray's shot again.
It's processing now.
Oh, good. Anyway, and we made a couple of shots looking up 8th Street at the Dome building. Ray made a 90-second shot right while the clouds had some pink to them. That's going to be the best shot either one of us took all night, and hopefully he'll let me show that to you. And I made a couple shots up the street, which aren't even in the same league. And we've done some light trails down the street as well. And I just realized that I left my camera bag. I'm working over here about 30 feet away, and I left my camera bag just sitting out here with about $2,000 worth of lenses in it. So I probably should move that closer to where I'm at. So here is my shot looking up 8th Street, and I had a neutral density filter on this shot. This is 38 millimeters. By this time I had switched to the 24-70 f2.8, the old F-mount version. Ray was using the Z-mount version, and my previous shots, my earlier shots, were with the 16-35, but this is with the 24-70 at 38 millimeters, f10 with a neutral density filter on. It's not dark yet, but I wanted to get light trails. So I've got the light trails coming off this car right here, and the 30-second exposure also blurred the clouds a little bit. So that's pretty cool, but Ray made a really cool shot of this same scene, and I'm going to show you that now. Ray went with a darker edit than I did on this scene, and his shot is 70 millimeters. Mine was 38. He was also a little bit further to the right. I was kind of out in the road with my shot. He got more clouds in his shot. It's a 90-second shot. He was using a K&F Concept filter that is a variable neutral density filter, and he dialed up a 90-second shot, and the clouds look really, really cool in his shot. And I love the reflection of the sun in these windows. It has a nice look to it as well. 70 millimeters, f/22, ISO 64, and 90 seconds for this shot that Ray made with his Nikon Z9. So keeping a neutral density filter on the camera, I looked down Market Street here and made this 70 millimeter shot at 30 seconds, f/5 and ISO 64 with the 24-70 f2.8G on the Nikon D850. It's fun to do light trails when it's not completely dark because you can see the detail in these buildings and you can see these cars and you can see lots of stuff, where if you do light trails after dark, all you can see is the light trails. Everything else is dark. But if you put a neutral density filter on, you can do light trails when it's still pretty good bit of daylight. And I liked the look of it cropped into 1:3. This was the uncropped shot. I cropped out this sign over here on the right, and I didn't think much of the top of this frame or the bottom of this frame, but when you look just at this part, everything is interesting. And I love the 1:3 aspect ratio, or 3:1, I guess. Ray has another filter made by K&F Concept that when you put it on your lens, it makes light stars of everything, even when you're not stopped down. As a matter of fact, this shot is wide open at f2.8 with the 24-70 f2.8 S-line lens at 25 millimeters, 1/60th of a second, f2.8 and ISO 4000. But with that filter, there's light stars everywhere. He uses this filter sometimes when he does concert photography. He doesn't shoot the whole show with this filter on, but he'll do a few shots with it, and it really makes for some interesting shots at a concert type situation. All right, well, I'm going to call it a night and go back home, and hope you enjoyed these photos. If you liked them, hit the thumbs up button. That helps me out a lot. If you want to see some more, subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye from downtown Chattanooga at sunset.